right, cold open question of the week, Nem.
Hi, Ers.
Recent reports have said Lucasfilm has recast Balin's Skull, who will now be played by Rory McCain, who played the Hound in Game of Thrones, famously. My question to you is, would you rather see Lucasfilm continue characters with their ever-improving deepfake technology and AI voices, or do you prefer the actual recasting of a character with a living actor?
That's a really good question. I was not expecting that.
I sat
Um,
down and I was like, I think there's two answers to this, but go ahead.
yeah, I think it depends upon the character. Um,
Yes.
so for Balin, with the way that Balin was, I'm not super against them recasting, but I mean, uh, it's hard. Like, don't get me wrong, the actor they've recasted with it, I think he'll do a great job. But he's not going to be the same as Ray Stevenson. So I that one is going to be tough. I'll try to give them the benefit of the doubt. They casted a good actor, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I think that's my stance as well. I think it depends on the character. Where if you can't recast like Luke Skywalker, but Balin is a supporting character, and he only had one season, and as you said, as great as he was, I think it's a lot easier to recast someone like Balin than like Luke or Han or something like that. And what I'll say is, if you watch Dial of Destiny in the latest Indiana Jones installment, the deepfake stuff they used was incredible. It looked really, really good when they did a young Harrison Ford. So I actually have a bit more faith, and I loved all the voice acting and the AI they used for Vader in Kenobi. I thought the voice was just spot on and perfect, and their sound design was so great with all that. So I think that they've learned a lot, and I have more confidence in their ability to do deep fakes and AI. So it's an interesting conversation. I just thought I'd put that out there.
Yeah, I think Balin is more important than what you might be kind of hinting at with it, just because they did recast. I mean, with everything that happened with I can't remember her name, but the actress that played Cara Dune.
Gina Carano.
Yeah, Gina Carano. They just completely wrote the character out. So I feel like,
Yeah.
if they didn't have plans for Balin, they would have just written him out of the show. And used something, how at the end of the season they kind of split ways and they just would have not brought him back. But with this, it makes you think that he's going to be a more integral part of whatever their next plan is.
Yeah, I like that, Nem, and I think that's a good way of looking at it. All right, Holotable wise, we've got a lot to discuss. Some shard shuffling happening, updates to the Naboo raid, a community member in need, the latest marquee Omega fugitive and her kit. We will break it all down for you guys. CG is officially back in the office, and the updates have resumed. Stick around, everybody. Let's start the show.
Ignite your passion and embrace the glow of the Holotables.
This is it.
Broadcasting live just beyond the Dune Sea, we join the heartthrob of the Outer Rim, Urzatron.
Hello, what have we here?
Welcome to Love on the Holotables, an absolutely unremarkable yet ridiculous Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes podcast.
It's a trap.
It's time to lock those S-foils in a chill position and head on down to the big Holotable for all the latest action.
This is Red 5. I'm going in.
Well, hooty hoo, and a big hello from me to you. My name is Zers, and I'd like to welcome you all back to Love on the Holotables. Today, we're joined once again by the all-time Hall boy, friend of the community, Chromium Cowboy, Japanese women's wrestling aficionado, TB officer, ex-Kraken Nemesis. Nem, how are you?
Well, I mean, I could be better. I'm sure you could too. We're both sad over playoff losses, so
Yeah, it's been a rough week
that's what it
for
is.
the Hall boys. We got Vikings fans, we got Bronco fans, and we got Steeler fans all taking L's. So, yeah, it could have been a lot better. But you know what? I told them before the stream or before the show here, the Broncos were on house money. So it's just like, whatever. It's the easiest playoff loss ever. So good stuff, good stuff. Nem, are you ready to talk some holotables? We got some news finally. CG's
Yeah.
back home. They're producing stuff. I think they're a little bit behind actually because they were waiting on art assets for the new kit. And were you surprised at all that it's going to be a new Omega?
No, I'm not really. They had mentioned whenever they first started going into the whole new episodes and eras sort of thing. They had announced then that Bad Batch season 3-ish was going to be the era after the Ahsoka Galactic Legend. So I'm not really super surprised, especially with how integral Omega is to the show. I'm a little surprised as to some of the other 4 characters that are in it,
Yeah.
but Omega makes sense.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you guys didn't see the news, it's going to be a new Wrecker, a new Hunter, a new Omega. The dog, which is what do they call the dog? There's like a
Batcher.
Batcher. I don't know how she says it. And then there's going to be Crosshair as well. But what's interesting is the dog thing, the Hound or whatever it is, the Betcher. It's the second actual creature. Is that right? Like we've got Wampa, and I don't know if you can really count Grogu because Grogu actually has lines. But this is the second creature, right? Is there another creature I'm thinking about?
I mean, I wouldn't count Grogu anyway, because if you are, then you're also counting
Right.
Yoda.
There you go. That's fair.
But yeah, I would say Wampa is the only other creature, to my knowledge, that's not a real character.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Yeah, and then we're getting to Crosshair as well. Did I mention that? Crosshair has this new, he's called Crosshair Scarred. Now, I haven't watched Bad Batch Season 3, so I'm not sure I know what that means, but where are you at with Bad Batch? Have you seen that? Do you understand the connection of the naming?
Yes. If you watch Season 3, you will definitely understand. He is a character that is scarred. You would think of it more emotionally and mentally than anything physical.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure there is some physical degradation there from some of the things they were doing to him. But yeah, scarred makes sense for him.
Is the scar? He's got his crosshair is sort of like on his eye, right? Is that his scar? I can't even remember.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a scar, but there is a crosshair over his eye. But that's something he had since the first time we ever saw the Bad Batch, so it wouldn't be in reference to that.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk more about the new kit for Omega Fugitive here in just a few minutes. Let's get to the news here, and let's talk Shard Shuffle and calendar stuff. We've got General Syndulla going into shipments. Padawan Sabine now farmable. I think she's on a dark side node. Balin event returning tomorrow, January 14th. We've got a bonus Executor event because of the Extra Life Capital Games charity stuff. So we have Executor tomorrow and then again on a Friday. So that's super perfect for me because I just finished up my Executor requirements over the weekend. So I will be finally getting to start to farm this thing. But I'm sort of like a little upset about that. I just did like the finalizer and Radis, and that all got added into the immediate, and you can farm it every day type of thing. Is Executor old enough? How long did it come after those two ships, those two capital ships? How old is Executor at this point? It feels like 5 years, right? 4 years?
Probably not that old. You got to figure I was retired from the game for just shy of 2 years, and Profundity was out by the time I had retired. So I want to say probably 3.5-ish years. It's still a wonderful capital ship. I mean, you can use it as a Leviathan counter. It's not 100%, but it's better than anything else that was out there. So, that's a plus, and especially for you where your ships have kind of been lacking in your DAC, it'll be a wonderful addition to your roster.
Okay. Well, I'm very excited. I just don't know how long this is going to take. How long do you recall how long the farm is from, like, I assume it unlocks at 5 stars, and how many months it's going to take for me to finish it to 7?
I don't remember because when that came out, I was crackening
Oh, you
and
were just,
7
yeah.
started the day it came out, just bought all the shards for it.
Oh, you can, okay, maybe I'll look at that. I would like to, if I can accelerate the repair of my fleet, then I'm all for that. So I don't know how much it's going to cost. I don't know if you can buy the pack multiple times. There is a pack. So
Is there a pack?
is.
Because I know that they usually have the packs whenever the event comes out the first time. I don't know if it's on any of the subsequent releases of the event. But yeah, I bought it right to 7 stars whenever it first released.
Animal, you. Okay. So that's what's going on sort of in the immediate future with the shard shuffling in the calendar. We've got Naboo rate adjustments. Take me to Naboo, Nem. We've got we've got the commander droid's special ability now starts on cooldown. The cooldown has been reduced from 2 turns from 3 to 2 turns from 3. The commander droid can no longer give itself a bonus turn when with the charge modifier. There is now a status effect on the commander droid that indicates the number of turns remaining until it uses its special ability, so it can be more easily tracked. What does this mean to you? Does this mean anything at all?
No.
Okay, because I thought I was the only one. No, it doesn't mean anything to me either. I guess my question here, Nem, is does this help me get my 1.5 million damage without having to restart 6 times? Does this help with that?
I mean, I would have to assume so, just because anytime you're able to put a special ability on cooldown right from the start, I mean, it's going to make you a little bit easier right at the start. Going from a cooldown of 3 to 2 will definitely mean that you have to kill a little quicker. So, but yeah, at least you won't get nuked right off the bat.
I think that's the big takeaway here. And it looks like they got some UI thing to be able to track the number of turns remaining with the special ability. So it'll be interesting to see how that translates to the game. So let's jump on into Omega's kit. So light side alignment, support leader, Bad Batch leader tag for Omega. I guess that's sort of, they talk about it in their inspiration, and sort of like she takes a more prominent leadership role in Bad Batch Season 3, so that was the inspiration there. I think we mentioned light side alignment. Let's just get into the kit itself, and we can talk about the added color they provided. The first thing we have here is a basic energy crossbow, which has a Zeta on it. Final text: deal special damage to target enemy. If any Bad Batch allies are captive, progress their rescue objective by 5. Otherwise, the healthiest Bad Batch ally without stealth gains critical avoidance up for 2 turns. So I guess this is a good opportunity to talk about how does the rescue mechanic work. Do you want to go ahead and read their statement on how capture and rescue works?
Yeah, I can. Let me see if I can. So can you describe in simple detail how the capture and rescue mechanic works? The first time each new Bad Batch unit is defeated, you don't lose them right away. If you gain enough target practice before time runs out, they are rescued and can continue to fight.
Yeah, so it looks like this is sort of my thought on what I was just talking about with like the new UI thing. It looks like, I don't know if this is going to be on a buff or if there's going to be a counter or a stack, or I'm not sure what it's going to look like, but they're like,
it'll be a
stack, and there'll be capture. So the number of now, is capture the amount of time you have left, or is capture the amount of target practice you have to achieve?
No. So think of them as 2 separate things. There's what is it? Target practice, and then there's captive.
Okay.
And And captive is basically the same thing. Think of it as like Hondo has captive.
Yeah, okay.
So whenever Hondo uses captive, if the unit that is captive dies before Hondo reaches so many stacks of whatever his special is, then Hondo also leaves the battle.
Okay.
So it's similar in that vein. And then, I don't know if you want to go too much into depth into the captive and target practice now, because as you go through the kit, it definitely dives into it more.
That's fine. All right, the second one here is a special one. Big Sister, cooldown of 3 with a Zeta. The final text reads, dispel all debuffs on all Bad Batch allies. Target ally recovers 100% protection and an additional 15% protection per Omega's Relic Amplifier level. This is reduced by 5% per debuff dispelled. For each 1% protection recovery received while that ally has 100% protection, they recover 1% health. For each 20% health recovery received while that ally has 100% health, they reduce their cooldowns by 1. So this just seems like a super just cleanse and heal up move with the added ability of cooldown reduction. That seems pretty awesome.
Yeah, the only thing on there that's a bit confusing to me is it just says that this is reduced by 5% per debuff dispelled. But it doesn't have a max on the stack. So what if, for example, you have 15 dots on a character?
Yeah.
Does that count as 15 or 1 or?
I think it would count.
And
well,
will
dots
that continue to stack? So I wish that there was more clarification on the wording of that. But I mean, overall, you can never really go wrong with a
AoE,
dispel and
heal,
protection recovery.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is a juice move for sure. Yeah, to your point, this is reduced by 5% per debuff dispelled. So if you have a stack of 15, like, are you not getting any protection recovery at all if they're dotted with 15 times? So that's interesting. I would imagine that's how it reads, that you're not going to get any recovery if it's, if it exceeds 100% or whatever. But yeah, I guess we'll see.
Because normally if it would stack, like, you would think it would say, oh, it stacks 3 times and then it's just 0% extra, which is fine. Like, you wouldn't complain about that. But the way that's written, it makes it almost seem like you could get negative protection recovery. So I don't know.
Or just
We'll have to see
if
how
you
it
just
works.
exceed the 20 debuffs. I mean, I don't know how many times you're gonna have 20 debuffs, but
Well,
it seems to happen.
You're saying you're going against the
Vader
Emperor Palpatine with Rey or with Vader and MJ and all that. You could easily get 20 to 30 debuffs.
Okay. All right, our next one here is our second special. Third ability is our Way Out. It's cooldown of 3. No Zetas on this one. Remove stealth from the healthiest Bad Batch ally, and all other Bad Batch allies gain stealth until the end of the encounter, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. If they already had stealth, they instead gain 10% turn meter, an additional 5% turn meter per Omega's amplifier level. All Bad Batch allies gain retribution, riposte, and tenacity up for 2 turns. All stealth allies gain advantage, foresight, and speed up for 2 turns. Man, she's gonna be. She's a support. To do that, what we said? Yeah, she's a support.
Yeah,
these are 2 awesome support abilities. So this is like forcing a taunt without actually taunting. Like you're just gonna put this on. It's probably your healthiest ally is probably going to be the new wrecker, right? Everybody goes under stealth.
You would think so.
Everybody goes under stealth, and then with riposte, you're hitting direct to health. That's what riposte does, I believe.
Correct. It skips protection.
Yeah. This looks like
and retribution, so you're basically counterattacking on everything.
And you're hitting right to health. This could be really good. And tenacity up. We love it. We always love it.
Plus, from how I'm reading that, if you're gaining retribution, anytime Omega is getting hit, so say, even if you stealth Omega and your opponent does an AoE, that retribution to trigger 5 stacks of the target practice towards your captive.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm following you. Yeah. And I'm just looking at the previous ability here when it looks like she includes herself. Hold on. Let me see Dispel on Bad Batch allies. So her previous abilities, this is a 3-turn cooldown. If she uses her other ability, it's going to lower the cooldown if she's at 100% health. This is going to go on a 2-turn cooldown. This could be a nuisance to be dealing with every 2 turns. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, you could reduce a lot of cooldowns with that big sister and then compounding with this.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Next one we have here is her unique one, Odd Little Clone. Omega Fugitive has plus 50 speed. If Omega Fugitive is in the leader slot, the first time each ally, Omega Fugitive, Batcher, Hunter Mercenary, Wrecker Mercenary, and Crosshair Scarred, would be defeated. Remove all buffs and debuffs. They are inflicted with 10 stacks of captive until the end of the battle. While captive, they can't be targeted. They are immune to all damage, recovery, buffs, and debuffs. They lose 1 stack of captive whenever a Bad Batch ally takes a turn. Bad Batch allies can contribute to their rescue objective. If their rescue objective is met, they lose all stacks of captive, and they lose captive and recover 100% health and protection. Otherwise, they're instantly defeated. This is sort of playing out like some of the galactic challenges where the enemies respawn. That's sort of what I'm getting here with the vibes. But I'm not done here. If all allies are captive this way, they immediately fail the rescue objective. This effect persists through defeat. Captive, set speed to 0, can't attack, gain bonus turn meter. Rescue objective, gain 30 stacks of target practice. Okay. So that's a mouthful. What do you think?
it's interesting.
It is interesting.
So the thing we were discussing it in your Discord about this unique specifically and how it's worded and how you can understand this. So basically, the way this works is when you start battle, you will start gaining target practice. Once one of your allies becomes captive, everything will be, and it's not dispelled, but removed. So it's not like you could become captive and have 20 stacks of target practice, because I'm reading this as that buff becomes removed. So once you become captive, everything gets set to 0. So basically, every time you're captive, you have to gain a new 30 stacks of rescue objective, of the rescue objective target practice in order to eliminate from captive.
Yep.
Once your captive goes from 10 stacks down to 0, the unit is defeated. And every time a Bad Batch ally uses an ability, you lose 1 stack of captive. So basically, you have 10 moves to accrue.
That makes sense.
You have 10, and that's why I asked you if you wanted to go into the target practice captive a little bit later in the kit, because I knew Odd Little Clone was coming up. So every time you get a Bad Batch maneuver, you're losing 1 stack of captive. Once you get down to 0, the unit is defeated.
So it's almost like a game inside the game, right? So you're trying to navigate 30 stacks to get 30 stacks of target practice, and you can only get target practice a specific way. So let's look at how we're getting target practice here. So this is the leader ability, learn by watching. It's got an AMI for GAC. Bad Batch allies have plus 30% critical damage and offense. At the start of the encounter, all Bad Batch allies gain stealth until the end of the encounter, excluding the healthiest Bad Batch ally, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. At the start of each character's turn, stealth allies recover 0.5% health and protection per Omega Relic Amplifier level. Stealth Bad Batch allies can't be critically hit. During a Bad Batch ally's turn, whenever a Bad Batch ally damages the same enemy or enemies that were damaged in the previous Bad Batch ally's turn, all Bad Batch allies gain stacks of target practice till the end of the encounter, or unless they damage a different enemy while the previously damaged enemy is still active. So it's all on one guy, right?
Or by using Omega's basic.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. Now we were having a debate in your Discord about this leader ability, and how it reads for gaining the stacks of it and when you lose it. So how it says all Bad Batch allies gain a stack of target practice until the end of the encounter, or unless they damage a different enemy while the previously damaged enemy is still active. So the debate we were having is, uh, say for example, you're going against a team and you are attacking, you're going after the attacker on the squad,
mhm.
and then all of a sudden the tank taunts.
Yep.
If you can't get around it, will you lose all of your stacks that were gained by attacking that attacker target whenever you switch? Or is it just one turn where nobody
I
gains
read that as
the
one turn,
target
nobody
practice?
gains, because if you read it like that, you're if it goes from Hunter's turn to Wrecker's turn, and Wrecker can't hit because of a taunt, then you just don't get a stack that turn. But then if the next turn, so you attack into the tank, and then next turn it's Omega's turn, she attacks into the tank, then you're gonna get target practice. That's how it reads, right?
Yeah, that's how I read it. But like I said, we were having some debate in Discord over that because there were some people that felt that if you whenever you switch enemies, you lose anything that you had gained.
Got you.
Because it's not really clear wording. So I'm interested to see how it works in practice once it actually gets out into the game.
Okay. We're not done with this ability. I just wanted to pause there for what target practice actually entailed. While in Grand Arena, if there are no Galactic Legends and all other allies are Bad Batch, whenever an ally is damaged by exposed or by an enemy with bonus protection, all enemies receive damage equal to 1% of their max health. This is really interesting, by the way. For each stack of target practice on all allies, this damage can't be evaded and can't defeat enemies. Stealth allies are immune to damage over time. Plague enemies. Oh, so here's your damage over time question. I mean, if they're immune while they're stealth, I guess that really doesn't consider that it, if they're out of stealth and they're getting dots, if that heal that we talked about earlier actually works.
Plus, it's only in GAC
yes.
with the Omicron.
Yes, thank you. Plague and enemies can't be revived, and they take a bonus turn whenever they are stunned or another ally falls below 100% health. So this has got, anti-expose, always a good time. So that's immediately going to be a counter for any exposed heavy teams, your Zori, Finn stuff. Plague, Night Sisters, bonus turns on stuns. This is going to be some good stuff here.
Yeah, to me, it seems like this is a mechanic put in to basically counter those squads that are those mid-level squads that you can use that would normally be like a cleanup crew or something. You use your Mother Talzin against
utility focused.
BOs, that kind of stuff. Like it's limiting it so that you can't use those just a Vader solo, or you can't use Night Sisters. Like it's making it so that you're basically forced to use a better team against them.
Yeah. Okay. So that is the kit. We made it through. It wasn't too bad. Just a little clunky with my reading. Sorry about that, guys. Overall thoughts on this one? It looks like target practice is going to be like a game inside the game, which could be fun on offense. Probably going to play horribly on defense is what I would guess.
Yeah, well, actually, I was going to say this might be, the way this is reading, this might be a wonderful defensive squad. It just depends on how the AI works. So as long as the AI is willing to focus down on one target at a time and not do what it normally does, which is spread damage out, then I think that this actually has a possibility of becoming a pretty good defensive team. Just because you have that ability for, okay, you're going to put a character in captive, but the team seems like it's generating health and protection. It's taking bonus turns. There's retribution. There's always gaining stacks of target practice. So to me, I think it could be a defensive team, especially for something like GAC or TW. But it really depends on how the AI plays it. So that's what I'm interested to see is once this team is built, how the AI plays it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all going to come down to that and how it's programmed. I mean, sometimes there's always speculation with CG that sometimes they purposely program bad AI so that you can play around it and you can punch up and you can do different things like that. I don't know if I buy that or if it's just shoddy testing, but yeah, I'm excited. Dude, I have a bigger question about this Bad Batch stuff. Does this get you excited? Like, are you going to be excited for this, or how do you feel about all this with the announcement of all these characters?
Don't get me wrong. I've really enjoyed season 3 of Bad Batch. I thought it was up there with the final season of Clone Wars in terms of animated stuff that they have put out since the Disney acquisition.
Yep.
In all honesty, season 3 was fantastic. I loved it. Very few fetch missions, episodes in that. It was great. But this, it does nothing for me. I mean, I'll farm it. I'll get it up. But it's not going to move the needle in terms of bring excitement, especially knowing that it's not building towards a journey level character.
Here's an interesting thought: is like, it's not building toward a journey level character. It's probably going to be required for something down the road, but they're like, because they're so focused on prescribing teams now, and they're building one team, and then they sell you that whole team. It's just like, even if you liked one of these characters, you can't just go buy the character. You can go buy the character as a standalone and maybe use it with old Bad Batch. They've already said that that's not the desired utility. I guess my thought is like you really got to be all in with Bad Batch, or they really have to have a purpose if you're going to be, or you're just a whale, right? I don't know. It just seems silly that.
Yeah. The thought I have is maybe it'll be something for a conquest character. You'll need it for feats within, gain 200 stacks of target practice, or
here we go. The feats.
Get out of captive 6 times or 10 times or whatever it's going to be.
You're writing the feats for them right now.
Oh, trust me, I'm sure they've already thought of them. But I don't think it would be in for the next conquest character, just because with when the next conquest is, there's not enough time for them to get all 5 of these characters out, since it's basically a 2-week cadence for each one of them. So you have 9 weeks for the last character to come out from tomorrow. And we'll be into, I think, our second character.
Yep.
Within that next new character. So it would really make that first conquest very difficult if there were feats specifically tailored to this team. But yeah, I mean, I could see it eventually building to something like maybe a haired version of Asajj as a conquest character. I don't know what it would be a lifter for.
Balin, because she's mercenary. She would be a mercenary, I believe it would be.
Yeah, she would be mercenary or maybe bounty hunter, but we already have Dad Bod Boba as a bounty hunter that's a conquest character. but yeah, I mean, I could see this being used eventually as a conquest feat
Yeah.
or a conquest character, and not necessarily because by the letter of the law, technically they would be correct in that it's not building towards a journey character.
Yeah.
Um, but it would be building towards something else. I mean, there's no way they're gonna release a whole squad of 5 characters with absolutely nothing to use it for on the horizon.
Yeah. I think I agree with that assessment. Good stuff. All right, let's turn the page from the Omega's kid here, and let's talk about a beloved member of the community, Bit Dynasty. I don't know if you've watched Bit Dynasty before. I think we all have when we're stuck on a feat or a challenge or an unlock. We all probably have come across his videos at some point. He's been a guest on Love on the Holotables. I had the pleasure of speaking with him a few weeks back. He's going through a situation right now. Similar to, I think a few of our content creators are sort of straddling that line between full-time and, real life work and things like that. He was recently laid off in September, I guess. And he, after months and months of applying, 4 months out of work, he found a job, but literally only got minimal offers. And I guess this job is like a 40% pay cut for him. So he may have to give up something he loves, and that's making content for the community. Just wanted to sort of bring to light to this and talk about, it's obviously a huge fear for a lot of us to get laid off from our jobs. But I just wanted to bring it to light and let you guys know that you can absolutely support this guy on Patreon if you ever watch his content or view his videos. Every little bit helps, and it's something. Nem, you went through a layoff just recently, what, like a year or two ago?
Yeah, about a year and a half ago, I got the layoff slip. Thankfully, I found another position
Yeah.
fairly quickly. So, um, knock on wood, for anybody with a family, I mean anybody in general, but especially if you are the person supporting a family,
Yeah.
it's a huge fear.
It
And
is.
um, my heart goes out to Bit. I hope that he's able to get on his feet quickly. He does wonderful
Mm-hmm.
content, even if he goes down to super part time on it. I know that the community will always be grateful for anything that he
Yeah.
does. So wishing him the best, and we hope to see you back on the Holotables soon here as what you've been, because you're a fantastic content creator for the
Yeah.
community.
Just great words, and all I can say is I can echo that and wish him all the best. And you guys, he's not quitting the game or anything. He's just putting it out there that he may have to stop content creation if he can't sort of cover that loss in 40% of his like salary. So he may have to explore a night job. So we just want to put this out there and signal boost a little bit and just let him know that we appreciate him and we're thinking about him. And swgoh's just, unfortunately, it's not one of those games. It's got a very small, tight community. And then it's, to go full time with swgoh, you're either Arnold or Arnold's basically the only one that can go full time. And, he's obviously earned that. So, yeah, it's very difficult for a guy like me or a guy like Bit to just, I'm going to go full time Galaxy of Heroes, because there's only so many views out there. And the market is very much, sort of being fed by a lot of different creators. So it's an interesting conversation, but we love him dearly and we're wishing him the best. All right. Nem, let's continue the conversation and talk GAC. How did your GAC go? How are you getting along with threes?
I hate threes, so whatever.
Well, it's not that bad. I even got stonewalled on Wednesday night stream. But I was okay.
Yeah. Uh, Honestly, I dislike threes. To me, the game has always been a 5v5, and to switch it up to 3, it makes a lot of the counters that you had obsolete. So especially as a person, yeah, I mean, I played 3v3 back then too, before I had retired the first time, but I didn't care for it then, and I came back and I still don't care for it. So to me, like, I join, I do 1 or 2 attacks so I can qualify for rewards, and that's about it.
Okay, there you go.
Although I will say, do you know what my sneaky defense has been in
Ooh, lay it
3v3?
on me, brother.
I have on my main account a full R7 Sith trio, the traditional Sith
Okay.
trio. Trey and Nihilus and Scion
Omnis.
with the Treya Omni on it. And I'll tell you what, it gets a hold at least once a GAC.
So this is not with Savage. This is just OG Triumvirate.
Nope. OG Triumvirate, I think they're all at R7 with the Omni. And I get it if pending my opponent attacks, I get at least one hold on it almost every single
Oh
time.
my God. You guys getting this secret tech? Write it down. Sith Triumvirate back in 2025.
Yeah.
My man broke it. Love it. Love it.
Just the traditional Sith trio, boring vanilla Sith trio with one Omni, and that's all it takes. I think it's because people just look at it
It's just
and
the
they
Triumvirate.
assume that yeah, it's just Sith trio. I can take in whatever and take it down, and it just every time I get a hold.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, I go into review, and every time I go to my Sith trio, and I go, damn, that got a hold again. How does that keep happening?
Well, I had on Friday night an all-time banger. Oh man, we had a good one on Friday night. We were up against a very talented player, Darth Lucky. Shout out to Darth Lucky. He put up he was a total boss. He was, we have this little bit we do on stream, guys, where we do boss or bitch, where if I send our opponent a message a day in advance, and if they respond to the message, with anything positive, they're a boss. If they leave the room immediately or ignore the message, they're a bitch. But we had a total boss. The guy turned up on stream and participated and watched his defense. He called his defense his bums. I'll turn up and watch my bums. And he had me beat. And I got stuck on a Malicos team with Sir Junda, and who was the third? It was Ray,
Crew.
JTR? No.
Crew.
Oh, Crew. Yes. And we threw a bunch of stuff at it. 2 GLs, my JML and my Lord Vader, just throwing whatever I had available to try and get this thing down. Put 5 fights into it and just about tapped out on frustration. And someone in the chat goes, you should just try your Treya. Try your Treya. So Treya, Savage, and Nihilus, I ran him out there. I have both Omnis. And we were able to get it down with Treya. So Treya, the MVP for me, both me and Nem. And I ended up winning by 4 banners. It was an all-time, we had tapped out. We were done. And someone just suggested it, and we kept going, and we won by 4 banners. So it was a great show.
Also,
Yes.
Can I tell you 2 things about that battle? Because
I know you're going to tell me
specifically-
about annihilating Crew over Seer.
Yes, that's one of them. The other one is the next time you put on Isolate for that team, for the love of all things holy, put it on the tank.
Well,
Do not put it on Malicos, because if you would have put it on the tank, if you would have put it on Crew in the first place, he wouldn't have been able to taunt, and you could have just targeted right into
Okay,
Malicos.
but-
Instead, you had you put put it.
The reason why I put the target on, I isolated Malicos, was because he's the one that can huck rocks and insta the entire team. So if he's isolated, he's not hucking rocks, and I can deal with Crew. I can just dispel with the basic on Nihilus.
He still hucks rocks.
If he's isolated, he's not hucking rocks, Nem.
How is he not hucking rocks? Explain that to me.
When he's isolated, he can't use special moves, right?
Yes, he can.
Well, what does isolate do? Isolate makes it so they can't gain buffs? Is that right?
It means that they can't gain buffs, they can't spread buffs, they can't dispel. Basically, it makes
Okay, then
them
you're right. You're right.
themselves, and that's it.
You're right. But it
We were
worked.
debating
It
in chat
worked.
if you thought isolate
It's fracture.
was the same thing as fracture.
I think in my mind, drunk on Friday night, I wasn't even really drunk. Just stupid on Friday night. I think I was like, oh, because he was like counterattacking. I'm like, quit counterattacking. You're isolated.
Yes.
Better.
How is he attacking? You're isolated. Stop attacking.
Moving.
Well, it's because he's not fractured. But yes, next time put it on the tank so that they cannot taunt.
Okay, well, it worked. It worked.
Oh, it worked. By the grace of God, it worked. You got so incredibly lucky because you should have been killed so many times in that battle from just silly things that you were doing.
I got heart, man. I believe in my heart, and that's all you need is faith, bro. You know that.
We'll just chalk it up to you took 3 years off from the game.
I honestly thought it worked a lot. Like, I can't remember what I kind of remember what isolate does, but I had to say it out loud.
It does not
right
work
now.
like fracture.
Yeah, and I'm like, I probably thought it was fracture at that time.
Well, and the thing you kept yelling, why do you keep taking turns? And I actually said in the chat, does he think that isolate is fracture?
Oh gosh. Well, you know,
And I think it was Free that said, I'm pretty sure he does think that isolate is fracture.
Oh, it was such a fun show. I was in disbelief that we won. I was like coming to my knees. I was like, oh my God, when this is gonna happen.
I don't know who recommended you to use Trey in that, but you owe that person a drink.
I think it was B Cubed, and he's like, oh, use.
It might have been.
He's like, use Treya, and then I was like, but Free had said earlier that's never gonna work. When I wanted to use.
Although I will say, Free did. He took that one on the chin. He did say, I didn't think that would work, and I own it that I was wrong.
Oh, what a fun show! Go watch that replay, guys. The end of that stream is just crazy. It is just crazy. It's fun. All right. Here we go. Let's go community mailbag, Nem. We've got a question here this week from our very own Andros Skyblade, and he says, "Dear Nem, some gaming communities have been known to be super toxic and just a complete cesspool. What is it about swgoh, do you think, that has allowed it to have such a warm community and feeling compared to other games?"
Well, first of all, I think it's just because I feel like if you're playing this game and really a member of the community, it's because you have a love of Star Wars. So you really have that camaraderie through that. But I think it's also because everyone kind of commiserates together that, they're going through this all together, and everything that CG does, whether good or bad, it's all as a group. And I think everybody kind of realizes that if we're all just at each other's throats, it's going to make a change that might not be good that much worse. So everybody's just kind of, hey, whatever I can do to help to make this a little bit easier on you, it's a lot, so I'm here to help.
I will say this also. I will bolt on. I 100% agree with what Nem is saying. I think the other reason why it's a warm community is this community is generous. They are generous. A lot of people have disposable income in this community, and man, oh man, I mean, I covered New World for a few months, and we got to know a ton of new people. They were not even close to being as supportive as the swgoh Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes community. So that's a huge thing, right? Like, a lot of these guys are older in life with disposable income, and they're in it because they love Star Wars, and I completely agree with what Nem said.
Well, plus it's I look at it a little bit different than what New World was. While there was some pay to win aspects of New World, pay to win is the lifeblood of this game. So, it, like you said, it is a lot more disposable income, I think, in this than what New World was, because the grinding in this is different than the grinding in that. So I think a lot of people are more open to just spending the money here than trying to grind, as opposed to New World, because that's an open world game. There's other stuff you can do besides just going into a battle and hitting the auto button to try to get some extra mats or whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I really enjoy my time in swgoh. I always talk about my Sunday morning ritual: coffee, a bagel with some onion and chive, cream cheese, sitting on my couch, CBS Sunday morning, Mrs. Tron, the dogs, the whole deal. It is just heavenly for me. I'm just really enjoying it, and I think the best thing for me about this game, for them, it's just like I don't feel like I have to be competitive. I don't feel like I have to win everything. Like you've watched the streams. I've gotten stonewalled on fleets, and I'm like, oh, I'm okay with it. Everything feels fine. I don't know. I just
You get over it, but you can definitely tell that you're a little sad whenever you can't clear fleets because your ship's stuck right now.
Yeah, we'll
But
get there.
at this point in time, you've also kind of accepted
Yeah.
that your fleets are behind and you're working on them. I mean, clearly by the fact that you said that you're going for executor here. So once you get that fleet issue worked out, you'll be fine and you'll be competitive, and we'll see if you're still okay with losing once you know that you're gonna have a shot at everything at that point in time.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at my list of datacrons, and I'm like, I got a lot of datacrons expiring here. I say a lot, like the 8 datacrons I have. I got a lot expiring in February here. I'm like, I gotta hit the node pretty hard for this last conquest.
I was gonna say, you know what you got to do,
What's
man.
that?
Like you got to really work and grind on conquest more than you are. Like
Yeah.
I know that you've gotten red crate the past 2 times, but in order to really build those datacrons, you got to kind of be mostly done with that after about a week and use that last week for datacron.
Oh, I agree.
Grinding.
I agree, and I think I learned a valuable lesson this last time because I almost didn't get my red crate, and I was like, I'm going to be refreshing this twice every day for the first week at least.
In all honesty, I usually for mine in that whole first week, actually for pretty much the entire 2 weeks of conquest, I go through all of the 50 and 100 refreshers.
Yeah, there you go.
Every single day I go through all the 50 and 100s because I'm either going to red crate or I'm farming datacrons.
Yeah. Well, a reminder to all listeners, if you'd like to submit community mail, swing on by the Hall Discord and drop a question in the channel titled Community Mailbag. I'll be selecting my favorite question from that channel each week, so please do participate. All right, Nam, we've reached the part of the show called Maximum Firepower. We're heading into our last little segment here where we're going to put our guest on the hot seat here and test his mental limits. First, I'll give him 5 swgoh or Star Wars topics, and Nem will respond with a short answer that best describes it. We're looking for rapid fire on this, Nem. So the first thing that comes to mind.
All right, let's go.
Hold on. Next, we'll force our guest to get controversial and finish a sentence I've started. And then lastly, Nem will have 1 minute to guess a randomly selected character by asking me a series of yes or no questions. And you can't have the game up, so hands in the air, sir. Okay. Nem, are you ready?
Let's go, bud.
Target, maximum firepower.
Short response, true or false, I will wail on the new Bad Batch.
Maybe?
I said true or false, not maybe. What are you talking about?
Probably.
So then it's true. Okay. Number 2, best lightsaber color.
Ooh, blue.
Number 3, coolest bounty hunter.
Bosk.
Oh, yeah. Number 4, Count Dooku's pajamas.
I don't know. Does he wear them?
Have you ever watched Clone Wars?
Yeah, but it's been. Was that the one whenever the Night Sisters were trying to kill him and he was kind of weird
He was in
looking?
his pajamas.
Was he wearing like the little nightcappy thing that was off to the side?
They actually have his pajama skins in Battlefront 2. His Count Dooku's pajamas. I thought you would be a little bit more familiar.
We'll call him Scrooge.
Scrooge.
Scrooge. He's got Scrooge pajamas.
Okay, my favorite GL.
Jabba.
Okay. True or false? You said maybe, but that's more of a true in my mind for whaling on Bad Batch. Best lightsaber cover, you said blue. I think I could get with that. Blue's pretty gorgeous. There is like a cyan. I think like GK has like a cyan. It's really pretty as well.
Yeah, there's those one-offs like Mace with the purple kind of thing, but I mean blue is
Yeah,
traditional.
it's beautiful. I couldn't agree more. Coolest bounty hunter, you said Bosk. That's a great one. Bosk is certainly cool. A lot of the OG hunters are really cool. Is there new hunters that we're into? I'm trying to think of any new
Mando.
Yeah, he was a bounty hunter. Paz was a bounty hunter. He was part of the guild.
Mhm.
Oh, there's some good bounty hunters, man. Star Wars does bounty hunters excellent. Did you see the news bit that they said Embo is going to be the main heel or one of the top bad guys in the new Mando and Grogu?
I did not, but I'm actually okay with that.
And they're gonna have to make him look pretty cool. I don't know. Embo's cool.
I was gonna say I don't know quite how they're gonna do that makeup, but I'm okay with it if they can do it
pull
right.
off. Well, clearly
Yeah.
they probably.
I mean, they pulled off Cad.
Oh, Cad looks so. There's your bounty. Cad's my vote.
Yeah.
Cad's so awesome.
Although I will say, while he always needed to get to the back of the tank, the old man Boba with the black underneath.
It's cool.
Oh,
It does
that,
look cool. That is a very cool
that-
cosplay.
that went pretty hard.
I think a lot of people don't give him enough credit for just how they portrayed him. The look was actually pretty dope.
Yeah, the dark color with that
Yeah.
cleaned up green.
And it's
Oh,
got the red on it. It had red hues.
yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty
was-
awesome.
yeah, it was on point.
Okay, and then you Count Duke of Pajamas. You said Scrooge. Yeah, it's nice Scrooge vibes off that. Favorite GL Jabba. Why Jabba?
It's just a fun team. It's such a fun team. You get it the instant defeat with the Rancor. You can get a contract out of it because of a bounty hunter. Bouch is in it, which is
Yep,
awesome.
Love Bouch.
Yeah, it's just a really, really fun team. I enjoy it. It is definitely my favorite.
Okay. Controversial opinion. It's been over. So you're going to finish the sentence here. It's been over 20 years after the release of the prequels, 20 plus years. And they've always been remembered as enjoyable but flawed, both endearing and authentic for what they achieved. In 20 years from now, if we're both still alive, Nam, how will the sequel trilogy be remembered as?
Ooh, probably poorly still.
You don't think
mean,
that
unless
memes are
it's-
going to save it like it did the prequels?
No, I don't. Especially Last Jedi. There's very little to redeem that. It was just so bad. You might be able to get some memes out of Skywalker,
Yeah.
but just Last Jedi was awful. Like I've tried to go back and watch. Like the only thing in Last Jedi that's memeable is whenever Luke is drinking that milk out of the whatever that thing was.
Yeah.
teeth. That's about it. The rest of it is bad.
Yeah, I think it's going to be remembered in 20 years from now as an epic failure in film study classes. It's just like,
Yeah.
this is what they're going to teach about it. They're going to be like, this is how you fuck up an IP or mess up an IP. This is how you have a disjointed, like, you don't whiteboard a cohesive story. You have people that are Hollywood hacks in charge. This is what happens when you make something for the masses rather than make something that you're passionate about.
That 100%. For as many problems as the prequels had, the fact that they were all under George and he at least
A
had
vision.
a story that went between the 3 different episodes.
Yep.
The dialogue was awful, but it at least told a story.
It did tell a story, and it tried to tell a pretty ambitious story.
Yeah. The sequels, on the other hand, there was just no consistent story from one to the other. I mean,
Yep.
even whenever you have the actors coming out saying,
They don't.
They didn't
it
know
was
who Rey's father was going to be going into the last movie. Nobody knew. Like,
how
you
is that
you
not
know
on a
that you're
whiteboard?
turning it into a
Yeah,
trilogy.
yeah. It's really
I could understand if it was like whenever they released the original Star Wars, they didn't know it was going to become a trilogy.
right.
You knew for a fact that this was going to be a trilogy of
Yeah.
movies. The first thing you should do is plan out all 3 movies and then go from there. Like, even if Ryan Johnson probably wouldn't have been as terrible if they would have told him, this is the direction your story has to go.
Right. Like these are
You can
the
do
highs
what,
and lows you
yeah,
have to hit. This is the climax, and this is going to take us into the third movie.
yes. But if they gave him free reign to kind of do whatever he wanted, and so it just didn't feel like a coherent story from one episode to the
Yeah.
next.
That lack of
'Cause it's
guardrails is
like Ryan Johnson. Yeah, Ryan Johnson has made very good movies. Like the Knives Out movies, I enjoy, but they didn't give him a direction for keeping within a series of movies. Like, that's their issue. If anything, they need to either retcon them or basically do what George did with the prequels and shoot a bunch of extra stuff and then just splice in together new things to make it better.
Yep. All right, let's turn to our final bit here. Guess the Holotable hero. If you guys recall, last time Nem was on our show, he got it with the final guess after a minute. It's going to be 1 minute on the clock here to guess the hero, Nem. Are you ready?
Yes.
On your mark, get set, go.
Light side.
No.
Neutral. So dark side. Male.
Yes.
Empire. Bounty hunter.
No.
Sith.
No.
First Order. Mercenary. What other dark side?
34 seconds on the clock.
Separatist.
Separatist, yes.
Leader.
Yes.
Is there a revive mechanic if they die?
I don't know. I don't have the kid here. Like, I don't know.
Is it Newt?
It's not new. 53 seconds.
Does it have? You said it does have a leader
Yes.
ability. Trench.
Trench with exactly 59 seconds on the clock. Unreal, Nemesis.
Wow, I can't believe I got that.
Well, you got to Separatist. I didn't even have to give you a clue. You are getting better at this, dude. I almost gave you a clue, and then we were sort of talking over each other, and then you blurted out Seps. I was like, yes.
Well, I was trying to get the revive thing because Newt has it where
He
the
revives,
first time he
yeah.
dies, he comes back.
I don't see. I don't have Trench, so I don't know if Trench has a revive.
Honestly, I have Trench, and I don't even have him geared up yet. I'm still working
So
on
you
him.
wouldn't even.
Yeah. Not even close.
Oh, well, that is a hell of a way to end the show, my brother. We are at an hour and 5 minutes. So awesome. Before we get up on out of here, any plugs you want to get in, Nem?
Come join the Hall Alliance. We could always use some people, and come see us on Twitch Tuesday through Friday and YouTube on Friday as well.
Yes. What a plug. A hell of a plugs.
Yeah,
thank
buddy.
you to all-time Hall Boy Nem for joining us. You can catch me on Twitch 4 times a week with Performance GAC on Friday nights. It's the ultimate Grand Arena party. We just played Indy. Indy was fun. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. That was awesome. The Hall Alliance is also recruiting, so let us know if you need a guild. Follow me on X or come slum it in that squiff hole, better known as the Hall Discord. I'm around. You can find me. And that wraps us up to this week. manifesting you all health, happiness, and the most potent drop rates possible. Please do get to your ship safely. And I'll be seeing you and them out on them holotables. Good night, everyone.
If you enjoyed this episode of Love on the Holotables, be sure to show your support by liking this content and leaving a comment wherever you get your podcasts. Also, consider joining the best Star Wars community at discord.gg/ers or attending a whole live stream at twitch.tv/ers. Thank you, and remember, the Force will be with you always.